Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. So the Washington Commanders made their first signing of the offseason. They have signed cornerback Bobby Price, who was on their team earlier this season, an athletic freak. He has an RAS score of 9.96. I'll explain that in a second. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button. We're really close to 15,000 subscribers, about 70 away. It takes 1 second. It's free, so let's get right into it. So obviously free agency hasn't started, but you can sign players to future deals, or guys that were under contract the year before, you can sign them to deals. So that's what it looks like it is with Bobby Price. Before they were doing futures deals, which is a little bit different than signing him to the roster, or it might just be that the season officially ended and now they can just sign guys to the roster. I'm not completely sure, but it means he is going to be on the team until they decide to move on from him. So he's going to be in OTAs, he's going to be in training camp, maybe he'll make the roster. They can decide that, obviously, as they can with any other player. But he's a guy that he did play for the Commanders this past year for a few games, actually. Let's go ahead and look at his stats. He's from Virginia Beach, so Virginia guy, went to Norfolk State. So again, a Virginia guy through and through. Was an undrafted free agent out of again, he went to Norfolk State but played at Detroit for 3 seasons. Didn't do a ton, but in 2021 played 15 games, 18 tackles, 12 solo tackles. So did get some PT there, 3 PBUs or pass deflections. And then 2023 played a little bit, 2024. So ever since he's gotten a league, he's played. Has he played a lot? Not necessarily, but has played a little bit. Has a catch probably on special teams. So did play for the Commanders. Was on special teams. I did some research. I guess he was on the roster last off season and just was one of the guys that got cut before the season started, but made it back to the practice squad. And again, like you see right here, made some appearances in the game against, in the games. I don't know which games it was, but he did make some appearances. Let's see. So we look at his RAS score real quick, and then we'll get into some Super Bowl stuff. So RAS score 9.96. If you don't know, that's out of 10. So that is, as close as you can get to 10 pretty much. So it's a very good RAS score. The one caveat I will say is that it wasn't at the combine. It was a pro day. So those are the measurements from his pro day. Vertical jump 43 inches. I mean, that is kind of hard to manipulate. Broad jump, same thing, which both are really high, 9.95, 9.75. And then the short shuttle, 9.27, 3-cone drill, good as well. And then you look at his 40-yard dash, 4.43, which is not like insane, but is very good. And then, height-wise, he is, 6'3", 216 pounds weight. So he has really good measurements. And then, I'm not trying to hype this guy up a lot. Obviously going to say he's super athletic because he is, and maybe has a chance, trying to get you guys interested in the video. But he's a guy that'll be on the roster going into this, going through the off season. Hey, if he really balls out, he has those measurables. He has the frame that you want in a cornerback. He has the athletics. He has played, not a lot, but he has played. So this is the guy that, okay, maybe he can make the back end of the roster. Maybe he can have a Torrey McTyer type of offseason. Shout out Torrey McTyer, who had a really good offseason, then start off the season, then just tore his ACL against the Falcons. I believe like the last play of the game was like a Hail Mary by the Falcons. That was unfortunate, but Torrey McTyer, had a good offseason, ended up, making the roster. So maybe that's something that they could do with Bobby Price if they're able to develop him. I would bet, though, that that's not their intention. Not that their intention isn't to develop him, but their intention isn't to have him on the roster. When the cuts are done, when 53-man rosters are out. But, maybe he's a practice squad guy, but, or if some guys get hurt, knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen, then he can step up and be that fifth, sixth cornerback. Because right now they got Mike Sanders still, they got Marshawn Lattimore, and then after that it's a bunch of question marks like Benjamin St. Juste, free agent. You probably don't want him back. No Igbenogany, free agent. I would like him back, but you got to re-sign him. There's other cornerbacks as well, so they're gonna have to probably sign some guys and keep some guys around as well. And Bobby Price is one of those guys that maybe will be just a camp body, is what it looks like, with a chance of a good chance of a practice squad, because again, he made it last year and knows the special teams and stuff like that, and will be able to contribute like that. And probably at this point knows a little bit of the defense, knows it well enough. All right, in terms of the Super Bowl, we saw what happened. I don't want to talk about it too much because obviously, at least not the result I was hoping for. I mean, first off, I was hoping for a good game, but obviously the Eagles losing was my hope. Obviously, none of those happened, but it is what it is. Congrats to the Eagles. They have a great team. They had a great team, have a great team. Will continue to have a very good team. They have a bunch of free agents, but they're going to figure that out. They have a good general manager. They have a good organization. I'm not trying to gas them up that much, but hey, you got to give props where it's due. And the Commanders did beat them once. It was without Hurts, but you look at what Jaden Daniels did against this defense, against the Eagles defense, and he put up a much better fight, in my opinion, than Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes, whatever, they scored 24 points, 22 points. So the Commanders scored more. They also had turnovers that weren't Jaden's fault. I mean, 3 fumbles that were obviously not Jaden that diminished the scoring. And then also the Chiefs scored almost all their points in garbage time when they were down 34-0, while the Commanders scored their points early on in the game. And honestly, at the end of the game, they really didn't do much. The Commanders did. They were getting outscored by the backups in Will Shipley. So Jaden Daniels did really good. That's a team to beat in the division. I'm going to have the Commanders winning the division next year just because of the NFC East curse, but that is, I think, the best team in the division. You got to get better. The Commanders have to, and one thing is Jaden's going to be back. Obviously, he's hopefully going to get better, but you got to improve the roster around him. I mean, the trenches, that's where the Eagles are best. Their offensive line, best, top 2 at the very worst, but I think the best offensive line in football. And they're going to continue to be that. I mean, Lane Johnson's still there, Jordan Mailata. I mean, Cam Jurgens is young, Landon Dickerson, Mekhi Becton's a free agent, but they got hella good players there. And then also on the defensive line, they got players too. Josh Sweat's a free agent, but you got Brandon Graham, who probably will retire, and has missed a lot of the year. But Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, I believe that's his name. They got a lot of players there too, and they got Saquon Barkley to run the football. They got Jalen Hurts, and then don't even have to mention their pass catchers, who are good as well. You got to get better in the trenches. So that starts with signing some D linemen. If you can get a Josh Sweat, hey, guess what? You're taking someone away from the enemy there with the Eagles and adding them to your team. So that's that would be a good move. And, you're helping yourself and hurting the Eagles. And offensive line needs some work as well, with Cosme probably being out for a lot of the season. And then just in general, you need a better O-line. So that's another thing to consider. Just got to get better. And again, like I said, nothing but congratulations to the Eagles. I know some people were like, oh, the Commanders were a Rams completion away from winning the Super Bowl. I thought about that for like half a second, and then it's like, what? We're just playing the what if game, and guess what? The Eagles won that game, and they beat us. And it is what it is. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys new, and peace.